Dang it, what day was it? Oh yeah. What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. You know, over the last year and a half, I've noticed that Microsoft is really trying to expand themselves as a company. They're buying more studios, trying to make more games, and really, in general, just trying to make gamers happy. And you gotta kinda respect them for that. They want the Xbox One to be a device that everybody should own. So today, just for fun, I want to try and dig through their really big catalog of games and really kinda count down the stuff that everybody should try out. These are my picks of the top 10 best Xbox One games. Number 10. Path of Exile. A word I feel like is very important to game development but is not spoken very often is progression, meaning what is your character at the end versus what they were at the start. Path of Exile is a project that you can easily spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing, but what's really key here is the fact that at the start you're just a random person, washing up on the shore of an island and seeking some sort of retribution. By crafting armor, leveling up, and just stacking all the talent points you can though, you eventually become a monster capable of literally killing gods. This ability to create your own complete journey is so fantastic, and an experience that I feel like nobody else can really mimic. Number 9. Rise of the Tomb Raider. There's something so cool about a really high quality reboot, taking a series that's always been around and trying to reinvent it in a completely new direction, and that's what they managed to do here. Now, the first Tomb Raider was cool, but this one, Rise, it manages to feel completely different in my opinion, because now we have a Lara Croft who's starting to find her footing, to understand the meaning of this giant conspiracy going on across the globe, and evil relics, and being able to solve giant puzzles and kill stuff. It's one of those games that when you start, you're immediately grabbed by just how invigorating this entire adventure is. And by the conclusion, you just crave so much more. In fact, this is the only game on the list where I'd say that I was happy to play all the DLC, even if it wasn't particularly long, just because it was so exceedingly fun. Number 8. Dragon Ball FighterZ. Every few years, it seems like there's this magical fighting game that just springs up that everybody suddenly notices as an absolute masterpiece. And for 2018, we got Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, this game is more than just your typical anime fighting title. No, this is much more than that. It is establishing a giant roster of unique combatants that all have very, very different styles of beating the crap out of people. Now, here's the thing, I love the fact that everybody feels so perfectly balanced. Whether I'm becoming Goku Black or Gohan or somebody really weird like Frieza, everybody seems like they were perfectly established to become part of the greater universe of fighters. And it makes it where every single time I'm jumping into that next match or the next round online, I'm just so ready to win or lose because it means that I'm getting more of this epic action. Number 7. The Evil Within 2. Perhaps my favorite genre to really sit down with and sink my teeth into is horror games. Each one of them is so different, and sometimes they manage to find such creative ways to freak you out. And in that way, I am madly in love with Evil Within 2. This is a game that's story takes place kind of inside of a simulation. There are all these people who have been plugged into a giant computer to make a giant digital city, but things go wrong when one of the people that gets inside the simulation is a psychopath and turns people into his own horrible artistic pieces. Now it's up to us to try and go in here, find the core, and restore this digital city before every single citizen is murdered one by one. You're going to be fighting off things that are basically zombies, huge freaks, and even ghosts. I was so scared of this game, it gave me horrific nightmares for weeks, and yet I still wanted to go back and keep playing it. Number 6. Inside. At this point, I think I can honestly say that we have roughly 17 billion different indie games that are side-scrolling and creepy, but this one really manages to nail the aesthetic. It's very, very artsy when it needs to be, and serious when it needs to be, to create a real air of mystery. You see, Inside is completely a silent game. There's no audio, there's no text, there's no anything. You're simply a child sneaking into this giant, weird factory, and it's up to you to figure out why through context clues. What are these experiments they're doing? What do these puzzles truly mean? And is it possible to seek some sort of answers in this labyrinth of chaos? While it is possible to beat this game in about 2.5 hours, I certainly found myself thinking about it for months and months even after the credits rolled. Number 5. Halo: The Master Chief Collection. Putting something like this on a list might seem like I'm trying to bend the rules a little bit, but I do actually consider this a full game instead of just your typical set of smaller projects. Mostly because this contains a lot of stuff that wasn't seen anywhere else. A lot of map packs were brought back, a lot of stuff like the remastered version of Halo 2. It makes it where this definitely feels like it's fresh and new, even if it is technically older content. The main reason I'm throwing it out here though is because the online play has aged remarkably. In fact, this stuff you're seeing here, I recorded this today in 2018. I'm able to hop online and shoot all sorts of other Spartans, get into trouble, or even do co-op. I love this game, and I don't think it's ever going to grow old, despite the fact that it's been so many years since Halo was ever really a mainstream thing. Number 4. Ori and the Blind Forest. When I first got this game, I didn't really know what to expect. People were telling me that it was this really sad experience that you need tissues in order to finish. But from the art, it looked like it was bright and colorful. And it turns out that what you're getting is really a mixture of both. This is a sad tale, but one that's delivered in a really nice way, which is the fact that this is at its core a platformer, and one that has some really interesting physics-based puzzles built into it. But here's the thing. The most enjoyable aspect about it is that it's really broken down by these cutscenes that show this spark, this interesting piece of a world. It's a forest that's really on the brink of death, and it's through our actions that it can possibly be saved. I love the fact that this is a game that constantly made me want to set down the controller and think about what I was doing, the choices, the consequences, and if this was something I wanted to finish. And for that reason, I really admire what it's trying to do. Number 3. Doom. Just for a second, I want you to really ponder what is the most important aspect of any video game. Is it the speed, the pacing, how cool the graphics are? Or is it just that real visceral feeling deep in your heart that says, this is fun? To most of us, I think we'd agree that the last one is definitely the most vital element of any awesome experience, and Doom definitely takes the cake. It's gory, it's insane, but more than anything else, it's just a blast. Picking up a shotgun and trying to mow down as many demons as you possibly can before succumbing to their violence is just such a fantastic thing that really, I think most of us were playing through this game over and over again from the second it came out in 2016. I'll fully admit that this is one of the only games that I put on easy mode once just to try and blow through it again as fast as I could, trying to speedrun levels and see how quickly I could rip apart all these macabre mutants once again. It's fun no matter how you play it, how long you play it, or why you're playing it. Number 2. Divinity: Original Sin 2. Most people would agree that Dungeons & Dragons is the source of all current-day RPGs. It's the grandfather that introduced concepts like leveling up, character placement, and even attack levels. And in that way, I really like that Divinity seems to be taking things back to its roots. This is a role-playing game that truly lets you craft a wholly unique hero. For example, in my adventure, I decided to be a warrior who has some talent in necromancy, making it where I could beat beat people up and then drink their blood. Whereas my best friend, when we beat the whole game on co-op, he decided to make somebody who could create spiritual totems that would be able to do things like shoot fire and lightning. Now, you'll notice that both the things I've mentioned here are so radically different, and yet they're able to happen in a single campaign. Divinity Original Sin is extremely long and allows you to just tinker with so many core details of how you're interacting with this world. And for that reason, I love it. Every conversation, every time you're going to encounter another enemy, every single time you're picking up the controller, you are in for something that will not be seen anywhere else. Number 1. Cuphead. There are many different things in this hobby that sometimes we can disagree on. Whether a controller works well, if a console plays good, that kind of stuff. But there's one thing that we all seem to unite behind, which is the fact that it seems like challenge is really just one of the most rewarding aspects about video games as an art form. This is really the only media that pushes you to improve as you play it, and Cuphead is certainly going to keep you at your limits. This is a run and gun shooter, but one that just tests your patience in the most supreme way possible. Basically, every single level is a series of jumps, gaps, ducks, and dodges that need to be pulled off as precisely as you possibly can, because every mistake can mean your instant doom, and you do not get very many lives. Taking on incredibly massive bosses and getting stuck in evolving areas that are constantly trying to shift around you, it makes it where it's a game that really feels like a painting or some sort of really interesting interactive piece that you need to see and play and touch to truly understand. And for that reason, I am awarding this game as my pick as the best Xbox One game. Did your favorite game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Hey, I'm thinking about doing an experimental project at some point in the next month or so where I really kind of dig into the dark side of certain franchises. And I want to start out with Final Fantasy since that's my favorite game series ever. So I'll make you a deal. If this video somehow gets like 2,000 likes, I'll work on a big project that's basically counting down the worst things about my favorite series. Sound good? Okay, let's try it out. Oh, hey. I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.